Today, I would like to talk about 5 things that I avoid as an investor. First thing is leverage. Leverage is like investing the money that you don't actually own. And being a retail investor, leverage has the capacity to wipe out your entire capital account. That is why I completely avoid taking any kind of leverage in my investment portfolio. The second thing that I avoid is shorting. Shorting is a tricky business. It requires active management and precise timing of the market. Both of these are something that I don't prefer to do, which is why I avoid shorting any business. The third thing that I avoid to do in my investment portfolio is concentration. I avoid any business or any asset within my portfolio to exceed more than 20%. And the reason that I do this is to actively manage the risk. There are some exceptions. For example, Palantir has grew to be 40% of my portfolio at one point in time. And I actively managed to reduce it back to 20%. And I do this because there shouldn't be a portfolio that depends on one particular business. The fourth thing that I try to avoid is having more than 20 companies or assets in my investment portfolio. Let's be honest. If I have more than 20 companies, I have to actively study all these 20 companies, make predictions about them, draw DCF valuations, understand their balance sheet, their debt, their businesses. And it's simply something that is outside the time that I have to invest on studying these companies. I cannot afford it. And there is another reason to it. Having more than 20 companies means you're over-diversified, or 20 assets means you are over-diversified. And this kind of extra diversification always inherently leads to lower return for the same amount of risk. And hence, I avoid having more than 20 assets within my portfolio at any point in time. The fifth thing that I try to avoid is being a single asset investor. I know many investors prefer a particular asset. There are investors who prefer bonds, for example, Howard Mark. There are investors who really like to just buy business, for example, Warren Buffett. But I'm the kind of investor who believes that any investor should have exposure to multiple kind of assets. And this is because in finance, it's proven that having different assets has the best way to reduce the risk. There are assets that are negatively correlated to each other, bonds and stocks, for example. And there are assets that perform really good even in a recessionary period, for example, commodities and real estate. And this is why I prefer the approach of Ray Dalio. And these are the portfolios that I strongly believe in, and this is my investment thesis as well. I know in eToro there are many investors that are fully into just crypto or purely into stocks. Maybe they are risk tolerant and they want to achieve a better return by holding a single asset. And this to me is something that I would never be able to do. I want myself and my copiers to have exposure to different assets that perform well in different economic situations. And this is why I try to avoid being a single asset investor. So, you know the 5 things that I avoid as an investor. And I'm really curious to know what you avoid as an investor. Leave it in the comments. And please like this video and subscribe to this YouTube channel. And if you're really curious to know how my portfolio looks, click the link in the description to know about it.